for the bait. But me, your man, Louie T. Welcome to the command post. You know what it is. Post up. Take command. I, of course, am your commander in chief, Louie T. Thank you for joining me. So, Phase 3 of OTAs is officially in the books. We are done with the OTA portion of the offseason. Now, all that remains before training camp is mandatory minis, which will take place next week. So, here are the three biggest takeaways after all of the OTAs have taken place as we head into mandatory minis. The first takeaway, and I've gathered these takeaways based off of listening to those who are out at the park, having watched a number of clips from people that were out at the park that they've uploaded to social media or their YouTube channels, and then watching the Commanders stream of OTA practices, most notably the one this past week. I was able to put together this quick little list of things that I observed, right? So the first thing, we're faster as a football team. Like, that is abundantly clear. And listening to DQ talk about this at his presser this week about how the first day of this final wave of OTA 3, Phase 3, was speed training, essentially. He said they were out running the Ashburn relays. And I've said this a ton about DQ and some of the things that I expected when they got here. And one of those things was us to be a fast defense, if nothing else. Can't speak to the offense, but we were going to be a fast defensive team, a fast, free-flowing, physical football team. I didn't see that at times last year. There were times, the Cleveland game, we looked like we were playing at a different speed than the Cleveland Browns. The Panthers game, we looked like we were playing at a different speed defensively than the Panthers were on offense, right? The Arizona Cardinals, the games where we won by a ton, we looked like we were playing at a different speed. The Tennessee game, right? But the games where we didn't win by a whole bunch and we struggled defensively, we looked our age on defense, essentially. We were a pretty old defense last year, right? And I don't know if that's fair, but Bobby Wagner's an older player. Cleveland Farrell's not a spring chicken. Dorrance Armstrong, like, these guys aren't old. I shouldn't say that. We weren't an old defense. We were a slow defense, though. We were a slow defense. And, I thought we would be faster immediately. And that wasn't fair to this group. They came in here with a bare cupboard and had to essentially build this defense from the ground. And there were a bunch of one-year, veteran deals handed out. They added a couple pieces via the draft. But mainly this was a lot of them just trying to patch all of the holes that existed on this defense, whether it was Jeremy Chin or it was, again, Cleveland Farrell or Dorrance Armstrong or Frankie Louvu or Bobby. I mean, the defense was pretty much brand new, right? Your only holdovers were the two defensive tackles and Quan Martin. That was it. Every other piece defensively for this team was brand spanking new that they had acquired via the draft or free agency. So there were a lot of changes, and I get Benjamin St. Juste, I guess. I guess we have to add him into the equation. But it was a mess, obviously, the defense was. And it wasn't fast. It wasn't a very fast, free-flowing defense. And so, and it wasn't physical enough, which is what was one of the emphasis this offseason. So to hear him talk about them, really preaching speed, and then to see it, like watching the drills that they were going through and seeing some of the explosive, quick twitch movements, and hearing people that were out at the park like Lake Lewis talk about this team is faster, right? You can see it, though. If you've been watching, if you've been looking at clips, if you've been watching those videos, those streams that they've had while they're out at practice, even though they're going through stretching and all of that stuff, when they actually get to their indie drills and they're running around, those movements look a lot faster than what we are accustomed to seeing here with this team. You're going to see a faster team on the field. Guys like Jordan McGee, who we missed last year, he looks dynamic and explosive, right? Trey Amos looks the part. He looks dynamic and explosive, right? I'm looking at these backs. Ja'Cory Krosky Merritt, John Keim, who was not out at the park on Monday when the OTA practices started for this week, but that was the practice that DQ said, or Tuesday, my pardon. Tuesday was the practice where they had the speed because the media was out at practice on Wednesday. And so the speed practice was Tuesday, right? And John Keim, reached out to someone that, is around the team. And, they wear those little things that look like sports bras that all the players have on. And that is that is designed to clock their speed and their movements, right? So they're able to track how fast guys are running, what's their top speed, et cetera, et cetera. And Ja'Cory Krosky Merritt, Bill, the running back, 7th round pick out of Arizona, was the fastest player clocked during practice on Tuesday. I mean, that should get you excited. What have we asked for from the running back position for so long? I mean, Jeremy McNichols technically is fast, but we'll never see it. We'll never see Jeremy McNichols' speed. It will never be on full display, not with him actually having the ball in his hands. But Ja'Cory Krosky Merritt, Bill has a legitimate shot to be dynamic and to really give this offense something that it's lacked for a very long time. A very long time. So we're a faster team this season. Without question, we've gotten faster. Adding a Deebo Samuel, adding a Ja'Cory Krosky Merritt, adding a Jalen Lane, adding a Trey Amos. This team is faster. Adding a Will Harris, who is a 4-3 guy. This is a faster football team, a much faster and dynamic team. Having a Jordan McGee be fully healthy. This is going to be a much more dynamic and athletically gifted football team that they're going to put on the field this year. And I am so excited to see it come to fruition. Number 2, this is a team that is extremely deep. We are deeper this season. And I know I'm not telling you something that you don't already know based off of all of the acquisitions that were made in free agency and the 5 picks that they added in the draft, but this team is deeper. And I think Adam Peters has done a tremendous job of just adding competition. And that's what you see out on the field. I'm looking at some guys that, they're afterthoughts to most of us. I'll give you a name that no one's talking about. I don't think he's going to make the roster, but I think he's going to be in the mix this year. That's Kaz Allen, right? Kaz Allen looks different this year. I almost didn't notice him wearing the 24 jersey. He looks bigger. He looks like he's filling out his frame. And we already know he's quick and he has the ability to, do some things out in open space. He's going to have an opportunity to compete. Don't know if he's going to make enough noise to weasel his way onto the roster or at least have a spot on the practice squad, but there's going to be competition at the running back position this year. Like, again, are we keeping 3? Are we keeping 4? That's the real question. If you're keeping 4, then I think we'll be fine. But there's competition if there's only 3 spots. And honestly, is there really a competition? Because Brian Robinson, Austin Eckler, and Bill all probably have roster spots with their names on it right now. So it's still a deep position though. We feel so much better. One guy added to the mix makes this position feel so much better. They like Tyree Jackson at the tight end position. And again, we'll see. Big frame, tall guy, the ability to play basketball. Who doesn't love basketball on grass? If there was ever a guy that had an opportunity to become a Darren Waller type, it'd be Tyree Jackson. Or even to a lesser degree, a Logan Thomas, but more athletically gifted. Logan Thomas. It's Tyree Jackson. This guy's 6'6", 6'7". This guy has tremendous ability, right? Really good athlete. He was that at Buffalo as a quarterback. He's been working at the tight end position now for 3 years, 3 or 4 years. And at some point, either he's going to blossom or he's just going to be what he is. This could be the year. They like him. There's competition at tight end. Ben Sinnott is going to be better this year. We can't assume that Colston is going to be on this roster, right? We cannot assume that Colston Yankoff is automatically on this roster. He made it last year when there were tons of opportunities because this thing was in its infant stages. We are a lot further along in year 2 after doing what we did in year 1. We are a lot further along in the process than anybody imagined we would be at this point in the process. A guy like Colston Yankoff, and I've talked about this, a guy like Javonte John Baptiste, who made the roster last year, 7th round pick, Colston Yankoff, undrafted. These guys are not guarantees. Tyler Owens, I don't think he's going anywhere. I think he's going to be a part of this thing moving forward, but there are no guarantees. There are no guarantees to anybody. We're so much deeper this time around that anyone can end up off this roster. I think we're going to cut some NFL caliber players this year. I don't know the last time I've said that about a Commanders/football team/Redskins roster. I think we're going to cut some NFL caliber players this year. Like, I wouldn't be shocked if a Cleveland Farrell doesn't make this roster. Jeremy McNichols is an NFL running back. He's proven that. Before he got here, he proved it again last year. He may not make this team. Percy Butler, for all the shit and grief we give Percy Butler is an NFL safety. He may not make this team. Again, the likelihood is all of the guys that I just mentioned probably are going to make this roster. But how many defensive linemen do you think are going to actually make this team? How many guys are they keeping? 20? Can't keep 20 defensive linemen because they signed about 20 of them, including the guys they brought back. There's about 20 defensive linemen here. Can't keep all of them. They brought Jacob Martin here for a reason. They brought Dietrich Wise here for a reason. You already have Dorrance Armstrong. Javonte John Baptiste is here. You brought back Jalen Holmes. Like, how many guys are you keeping? You got Deron Payne. You signed Eddie Goldman. You brought Javon Kinlaw on board. You already have Johnny Newton. Sheldon Day is here. Like, how many dudes you keeping? They brought Carl Davis back. Again, we don't expect him to make the roster, but he's here. Like, how many guys are you keeping? So, when I tell you this is some intriguing stuff, the depth on this roster, I haven't even talked to you about offensive lines depth, and we've talked about that ad nauseum, so I don't really feel like I need to go over that and rehash it. We're so much deeper this year than last year on the offensive line. The cornerback position, there's so much more depth at cornerback than there was a season ago. Last year was a farce at the cornerback position. It was a joke. The depth on this team, how even safety, maybe to a lesser degree, but even safety provides tremendous depth. We're a much deeper team. That's number 2. And then number 3, Ja'Cory Brooks is a name to watch. He has been as advertised in the offseason thus far since rookie minicamp. That is a name to watch. That is an absolute name to watch. I've heard from people that he's been super impressive. We've seen him catching passes from Jaden Daniels. He's out there, you know, catching passes in 7-on-7, running away from guys. He is definitely someone that I think as we get to training camp, he's going to be a name to watch out for. He's got a legitimate shot at making this roster. I wasn't sure. The lack of athleticism, I started to let that kind of cloud my judgment. This guy was a top 35 recruit that went to Alabama for a reason. And he's showing it thus far. Again, young player, no pads. We'll see, right? All of that is fine and dandy now. Let's see what happens when the pads go on. But he's getting off to a good start. I want to leave you with this one lasting image, if I may. So I got to find it first. So I just want y'all to understand that Ja'Cory Crosskey-Merritt is legit. And he's going to be a part of this offense this season. I don't know how big of a role he's going to have immediately, and I think a lot of that will be determined based off of how training camp and the preseason goes, because if he kills it in those two areas, I think they're going to feel inclined to get him on the field sooner rather than later. If it's kind of ho-humish, maybe it'll take him a little while to get acclimated and into the consciousness of the coaches and for them to feel like, hey, let's get Bill some opportunities. But this is, I know what this says to me. I don't know about you. I've been on a lot of teams in my life. On some teams, I've been Jaden Daniels, right? The guy. On other teams, I've been sad, right? I'm at the bottom of the totem pole. And what I can tell you, and Ja'Cory Crosskey-Merritt is not sad. Let me just make sure I clarify that. But he's a 7th-round pick. And this was the 2nd overall pick in last year's draft in the eventual Offensive Rookie of the Year. And this is the guy right now that is setting the NFL on fire. Yeah, that's the guy, Jaden Daniels, that has the Commanders, a team that nobody gave a shit about just a year ago, with 8 standalone primetime games this season. I don't know if you guys saw, but Fox put out their America's Game of the Week list. We're on that twice too. Okay? Got the Cowboys in week 7, got the Lions in week 9 on America's Game of the Week on Fox. So, yeah, we're on fire right now, and it's because of 5. Last time I checked, when a 7th-round pick or a guy towards the bottom of the totem pole is on the team, the star quarterback isn't checking for him. I can tell you on the teams I was on, and I'm just talking about all across sports, basketball, football, baseball. If I'm the best player on the team, I ain't checking for the last dude on the bench. I ain't checking for the dude that we just got as a 7th-round pick. If I'm the star senior quarterback, I ain't checking for a freshman. This is not normal, guys, right here. This embrace from Jaden Daniels, this pat on the helmet like, hey, on this route, you got to do this, giving him a little bit of advice. This ain't normal. Jaden ain't doing this to just anybody. I assure you, look, I can't say this with 100% certainty. He ain't doing this to Kaz Allen. I would love to bet any amount of money. He ain't going up to Kaz Allen and giving him some advice in his ear, telling him, hey, keep going, bro. He knows that this dude's got talent. Game recognized game. And I'm going to tell you right now, Bill is looking real familiar to Jaden Daniels. Look out for this kid. He has a chance to be really special. We'll get a taste of it this preseason, rather. Can't wait. Bart Scott. Can't wait. Anyway, that's going to do it for me, your man Louie T, here on this installment of the Command Post. You know what it is. Post up. Take command. I look forward to chopping it up with you guys on the other side of the weekend. There may be another video or two coming your way. If not, enjoy the weekend, and we'll come back on the other side and we'll get back to it. Mandatory minis are on the other side of this weekend, and that'll be the last time we talk about live action with this Commanders team until we get to training camp. We'll have some bit of news before training camp. Terry McLaurin contract extension. But until that takes place, we'll be pretty dry in terms of actual Commanders on the field content. So buckle up. This last month before we get to the, action, back to the shits, going to be a bumpy ride. As I always tell you, stay safe out in these streets. These social media streets, not safe. Ain't never been safe, ain't never gonna be safe. So mind your P's and Q's, Y's and Z's, dot your I's, cross your T's, okay? Make sure you do it, and you heard it from me, your man Louie T. You're gonna hear a lot of shit, especially surrounding Terry McLaurin. Be careful. Be careful. Anyway, you guys get out of here. Enjoy the weekend. See you next time. Peace. LouieTeeNetwork.